All right, sweet. I'm going to do a little sound check. I'm not going to start for another 8 more minutes, but I just wanted to make sure last week my mic was not working all the well. So I just want to make sure that we are looking good now, or at least you guys can hear me better than last week. So at least on my end, everything looks good. So if there's something that is not coming through, let me know. But otherwise, we'll get to live here in just about 10 more minutes. Get some questions set up. There we go. All right. Hopefully my audio then is working. All right. Just let me know if it's seen any better. Trisha, I see you in the chat. So let me know if it's any better. Then that would be excellent. Hopefully you guys can hear me perfectly fine. I'll get started with the live stream here in just about 7 minutes, but I just want to verify with you guys. I have a ton of calculus from. Hope you can help me out. Probably not as much with the calculus, just at least right now, because I'm not something that I have gone back over. I need to go back through the calculus curriculum. That's one thing that I'm looking into doing. So, but you know, as far as on the calculus, like it's been a couple years since I taught it, so that's why I don't usually dive into a lot of calculus problems. Yeah, okay, you did that twice. Yep, if you have a question, just go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I will try to get to it during the live stream. So I already have only about 10 questions in, so I usually don't get to every single type of question. As a high school student, you provide me with much help. Can you do? Oh, well, thank you very much, Net. Hey, Ganesh. Well, it's not really a question, so. Oh, come on. I don't know why I won't delete it. Well, awesome, Alexis. So happy to be able to hear that. And just again, another sound check. Last week I had an issue with the sound. I didn't change anything, but at least to my level, looks like the level on the sound is better. So if that is the case, please feel free to give me like a thumbs up, or just at least to let me know on that everything is coming over better than if you were on live stream last week. It was like you could hear me, but it was just really low. So I just want to make sure everything looks good on my end. So unless there's something else you have, let me know. Draw the graph of the function that has the following criteria and then answer the questions below. Okay. Explain the fourth graph criteria. Not really sure I understand what you mean. Oh, well, you're very welcome, Jeffrey. So happy to be able to help you out. And thank you, Maggle. Good burb. I appreciate that. And Neonum, how are you? I'm just trying to get some questions, guys. So if you do have questions, feel free to go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A, and I will try to do my best. Well, awesome. Happy to have you on. I'm not sure, Sam, but yeah, that's the Scottish Higher Math Scam. I think that's pretty cool. If you have maybe a review, I'd love to go and take a look and maybe do a problem or whatever else that you might have for on that. If that's something you are doing, feel free to shoot it over. It gives me so many long questions. How to find it something? I don't know. I should be reading this question. I just got to get through it. I don't know. I'd have to read through that. It's going to take me too much time, or at least for right now. All right. When are American exams taken? I mean, it all depends on where you're going to be at the university or at the college level or a high school level, and so on and so forth. So I usually say like starting in late April and basically all through May to early June, exams are kind of taking place. I'm just doing a problem here. Let's see if I can calculate real quick. ln of 2.9. Oh, that's a negative. Duh. I gotta look at that one. Not sure why that one's messing me up. I'm trying to understand the double. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. What is wrong with you people? Word problem after word problem after word problem. Crazy. Yeah, we can't handle that. Hugh. Don't see Hugh on here. Well, I made a mistake, but I'm not sure. Person told me what the video was on, so unfortunately, I don't know where I made a thing. All right. I tried solving it and search for it, but I couldn't find a solution. Not sure why you wouldn't have any submissions. Are you talking outside the US or what? That's really kind of weird. I've never heard anybody saying they didn't have permission. And if you can go ahead and put that into the brianmclogan.com/Q&A, that would be great. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brian McLogan, and this is Open Live Q&A, week number 121. Hopefully my audio is coming through with you guys a little bit better than last week. I apologize for that. I literally didn't do anything differently, but it is showing that the audio is coming in stronger. So hopefully I am coming through to you guys much better. If I am not or you have any issues, then please feel free to let me know. And if you can go ahead and submit that over there, that just gives me a little bit more time to review. We actually don't have many questions, or at least up to this point. I didn't get to every question that was submitted so far, but there was a lot of questions either that I needed more time to review, or they were just really long, like as far as word problems. So the good news for you guys, if you do have questions that you want to submit, then feel free to go ahead and submit them, and hopefully we'll have some time to go ahead and take it out. So yeah. And do you cover all of calculus? I mean, yeah, I've taught calculus twice when I was recording. And so I do a whole bunch of calculus videos. There's only Calc 1, Calc AB curriculum. So, and I don't have video covering everything, but, I try to do as many videos as possible. But that's one of the other things I'm looking into doing as well, is uploading, getting some more content. So that is one thing that my kind of goal, that it was kind of difficult, stepping away from the classroom and being able to kind of get in a rhythm with making content, and being at this like studio home office kind of ask that I have going on. So I kind of feel that now some things are, at least I think I got a little bit of rhythm, even though the school here is kind of at an end. But yeah, so I feel like I feel like I can start getting some more content coming through, and that's what I'm kind of definitely looking forward to as well, to be able to get that going. Yes, you are. I'm not sure. The Vic says, what makes you become a teacher? So I actually have that video coming out. Let's see, I gotta record that. Yeah, I actually have a couple series of videos coming out from on there that's going to kind of go into the kind of like a little bit more of the journey of like why I became a teacher, why I decided to become a teacher. To kind of not give you a little cliffhanger, but to kind of get a little bit into it, is, basically it was like, if you've been following my channel or any of my live streams, like I struggled with math. And so I was looking here. But yeah, so, I struggled with math, and math was one of those subjects that it didn't come easy to me, but I did understand that I kind of enjoyed it, kind of that weird, like, I kind of like this, but I don't like this, I don't have great grades. But it was really kind of like learning how to be successful in math, and being able to have success and earning a degree, that I really felt that I could make an impact on other students that I think were just like me, that they didn't feel like math was for them, or they were good at math. And, really trying to, motivate students and kind of teach math in a, not so much in a new, exciting the way, but just kind of giving people, maybe a different experience than what I had. And so obviously I think you always kind of like gravitate to a little bit of some of the things that how you were taught, but I always try to, I have a pretty laid back, when I was in the classroom, it was always pretty laid back. I always felt like I was understanding and empathetic with the students and helping them like learn, but also I wanted to push them, right? I wanted to make sure that, they had standards that they had to meet. And it wasn't, it was something that when students were going to get a grade from me, that I felt that was the right grade, kind of for them, like, or not kind of for them, but like that was the grade that was earned. It wasn't like a gimme grade, or that they, that they, got a grade they didn't deserve. And obviously, of course, teaching students and going through the years, like that's always going to happen. But I always took that very serious, or at least to the heart for my mind. And I always, kind of guarded the grades, importantly. So that's kind of, a little bit why I wanted to come in a nutshell, but I definitely have some cool videos coming up in probably like the next month or two, that hopefully you will, they'll kind of connect from on there. It says the page can't be found when I click on submit a question. Well, that's not good. You're going to https www. Make sure you use the secured brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I am having some work done on my website, but that shouldn't impact it. So now I can just go ahead and check. Mango, you haven't seen any problem? I mean, it's working right for me. I would just make sure you're using the secured form on there. That's the only time that I've seen that people have had like an issue going from that regard. Okay. Well, let me go and check the pin. Maybe there's an issue there. I mean, the pin should be brianmclogan.com/Q&A. I don't know. I didn't check the pin comment. No, it works for me on the pin comment. That's kind of weird. And the Discord should work as well. Just again, guys, also just a reminder, if you guys do, if you don't have any questions, or if you have not already checked out the Discord server, then I'd highly recommend going to the Discord right now. There are 829 people online, and just over 4,000 members. So basically the Discord server is just a free server for you guys to be able to get math help or to help other students with math. There's, basically courses mostly geared towards high school, but there is advanced mathematics, and obviously you can go below the high school level if you have questions or can help people in those areas. And yeah, just a different way to kind of connect with people that are having issues with their math or want to help other people with their math. I have no idea. The only thing I would recommend doing is, it's working perfectly fine on my end. So I do not know what could be the case at this point. Well, thank you very much, Phantom. Lemon character taking sunglasses and raisins aren't agreed to me. Well, thank you very, very much. I greatly appreciate the super chat. And Dill says, thank you. Completely taught me college algebra. Well, awesome. Not trying to be mean, but I cannot understand my professor at all due to language and accent. Thank you for class. Yeah, average by 50. Well, awesome. So happy to be able to help you out. And yeah, it's, it doesn't even matter what's the accent. Like, we all learn math at different levels, at different speeds, and how people explain things. I'll take all the compliments in the world from you guys. I really do appreciate them. But I also know that a lot of the thanks, that I get is also a lot of times like things have been taught to you, right? It's not like I'm the only one teaching, or at least in most instances, I'm not the only one just teaching, but like I'm the one that, once you've been taught it, didn't really connect, but then you hear it like a second or a third time, and then the pieces come together, right? So again, I'll take all of the praise. I greatly appreciate you guys taking the time to, let me know about that. But I also know that, it's very important to get different kind of feedback from different people, right? And even if you understand somebody or not understand them, but to keep on like seeking out different viewpoints, and that's why teachers always say like, you learn more from the students, or every year you're learning something new. And it's true, because every year you're getting new students, and new students have different experiences, right? And they view problems differently, even if it's the exact same problems. Every single year I would always there was always a problem or two that I saw it differently than I had seen in like 20 years. It's just like that crazy thing. You're like, oh my God, I never thought of it or never looked at it like that. And all it takes is one student to kind of, or, one circumstance to kind of help you look at it in that different way. So it's kind of crazy like that. Well, awesome. No, I don't really play any games. I don't really have any time to play games. So YouTube basically takes up my life now, since I stepped away from the classroom. And then I get home and I have my kids that I take care of, obviously, when they're home. And so that is very exhausting. And then after that, I am just purely exhausted and I want to lay down and go to bed. So unfortunately, my life is not very that exciting anymore. But I used to, back in the day when I'd teach, and then, then I'd do like YouTube late at night. And now I try to wake up early in the morning, first thing in the morning, and try to do some YouTube, and basically all throughout the day. I'll kind of do some things with that. What was that student's question actually? Write an equation and then solve to find x. Okay. But I am playing like a golf game right now on my iPhone, which I just kind of got hooked at for whatever reason. That's so weird. Post in the direct link that you're typing in, like type in directly what link you are using, and type that into the chat if you don't mind. Do I speak another language? I used to. I don't. No, I do not. I did take 4 years. I'm sorry, not 4 years. I took 2 years of Spanish when I was in high school, and then I spent some time in Spain. Not spent some time. Took 2-week vacation in Spain, but that's about the most that I know. Is just a little bit of Spanish that I could get by. Sam says, do you think math questions in American high school level are difficult? Are there lots of questions that are just not standard, where you have to apply lots of knowledge, those A level cues? No, I mean, it all depends on the curriculum that you're dealing with, and usually in the like United States, obviously we have the international baccalaureate, the IB, and the ACE program. That I think, as far as like in a high school, there's going to be your more upper echelon type of courses. But from what I've seen, I'm not versed at all in international math curriculum. But from what I've seen, or at least heard, or seen, is like obviously those I think courses and demands are more difficult or stronger than most American curriculum that I've seen. But again, I'm just kind of going off of assumptions from certain maybe certain comments from others that, for those of you that are not based in the United States, outside, and you kind of let me know about some of my videos or problems I do, and then also seeing some of the problems that you guys submit that I know are not from not something I've seen before. So that is only an assumption, but I can imagine that yeah, the American school system in large, I think, has been centered to kind of teach more of a broad system for like more accessible to like everybody, which is good and bad. And the and then yeah, I think so in that case, I wouldn't say it's like watered down, but I think it's just been more dialed down. I guess that's really the same thing, but to appeal to appeal to kind of a broader audience. There you go, Alexis. Should I take Calc 2 in the fall, even though it's been a year? Yeah, I just talk to your kind of teacher, kind of feel how you look, how you feel walking into calculus, and if that's something that you feel comfortable with, then awesome, go for it. But they should probably be able to tell you, or maybe give you a test or two that you can maybe like assess your standing, and if you're something. But typically, if you're only been gone from calculus for a year, I think it's something maybe a little bit more extra work, but I think it should be something, if you did well in Calc 1, that you should be able to do. Oh, well, thank you, Jonathan. I greatly appreciate that. I really do. Hello, right side. I got to get a test on exponential functions. Very nervous. You got this. Actually, I did a exponential function test review, like video, maybe like 2-3 weeks ago. It's a long video, but if it's something that'll help you, hopefully that gets. Was that real? Yes, that was real. To give you a little back behind on that video. So that video, the whole purpose of that video was we were actually supposed to do the Harlem Shake, and we were going to start the video on the Harlem Shake, and they were going to push me out, and then they were going to do it. But then the kid chickened out, and then that was literally the video. And I don't know why I uploaded that, but I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just upload that video. And so, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, no, that was a real video from there. Good question. I mean, that's a very subjective question, because what's affordable to one person is, definitely not affordable to the other. I mean, if you're looking for affordable, the best thing that I'd recommend doing is there's, tutoring platform. I mean, there's two things. Actually, I typed out uh, I have no idea what tutoring platform you are talking about. I would recommend going to your teacher, going to a tutoring lab that's offered either inside your university or school. There's usually always going to be some free options for tutoring. So I would always look at those first. And if you're looking for like cheaper options or like affordable, then I would look into like online tutoring where maybe somebody that is, there's, I mean, even apps that have like tutoring that can help you with your questions or explain things. I have my Discord app, which is completely free, and people spend a lot of time helping others with that. I mean, that's completely free. So if that might be able to help you out, if you're looking for in-person time, affordable tutoring, that's all just going to depend on what people are willing to charge for their time. So I don't have a good answer for you. I don't know where you're based out of, or, what is affordable for you. But, I don't offer online tutor. I don't offer one-to-one tutoring for like charge, just because my time is like too valuable, and I can't charge like what it would cost to, have a have my time for like affordable tutoring, So, and again, everybody's going to be different. Everybody, you might be able to get some people for, that will just willing to help and they want to get they want to get started in tutoring business. So they might be able to give away tutoring for, free or really cheaply. So, I would just, I would look online first and kind of see what you have there and then kind of expand from that. Yeah, I can definitely, that's something I can definitely do. Well, you're very welcome. Happy to help you out. It really kind of depends on what the student is trying to achieve. I think it's a lot of circumstances. Yes, you don't want to like just dwell on one question or one chapter and whatever else. Like you can always come back and relearn things. But and also in the other thing, like there's going to be other opportunities for you to be able to learn too. Like your teacher does not hold all the cards. So if there's a subject or a topic that you're not understanding, then, you can also, if you have the time and you need to understand the material, like go after it, like get the information that you need to know. Well, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. And I don't know. I just have a ton of videos on conic section. So I'm not sure if you've seen the playlist, but I have a ton of examples. I actually even have hard time like doing more examples of conic sections because I feel like I've covered, except for like more difficult like examples. Obviously you could go like above and beyond what I've covered in my chapter, but like I have just a lot of examples from them. So hopefully if you've seen those playlists, those have been helpful. And if you're looking for a specific problem, then, let me know and I can go from there. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Wow. Thank you. Calculus final week. Here we go. Kalamazoo. Yeah. All right. I love it. I was actually just looking at some photos on Facebook and I saw my old rugby team, the Kalamazoo Dogs. If you ever are interested in playing rugby or watching a rugby game, go and check out the Kalamazoo Dogs. But yeah, man, the good old Western Michigan. So that's awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I used to live on Knollwood, by the way, if you are familiar. Back by Knollwood, Lafayette, all in there. Used to be able to walk to class. It was all good. Good times. Well, if you have any questions, feel free to post it in the Discord. Or you can go to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. Let's see how many new questions that I have from there. Right? Because a lot of people keep on posting questions and therefore I answer them. All right. So we got like more questions coming in. Cool. All right. So let's go ahead and what information can be extracted from factor form apart from the zeros? Well, I mean, and I guess I need to think about it, but I mean, yeah, that's going to give you can find the zeros when you have it in the factored form. Nothing's coming up to me off the top of my head, but I guess that's a good question. I guess I'd like to think about it a little bit more. Not so bad. You got it. You can do this. Don't worry about it. But mostly calculus, most students that struggle in calculus are going to struggle not from the calculus material. It's from what they've learned up to calculus. So, when students say like, how hard is calculus? I don't think the calculus material, most students do not struggle with calculus. They struggle with remembering pre-calculus and algebra and trig and all that other stuff. So just like how pre-calculus is usually difficult for students, not because what we learn in pre-calculus is hard, it's because they forgot all of algebra too. And, they forget geometry and all that kind of stuff. So calculus is the exact same thing. It's what you've learned up to that point, which really gets tested with students. Right equation for x. Okay, so we got that one. So I'm just going to add in some more questions. I'm going to take this off. You guys can definitely still submit questions at brianmclogan.com/Q&A. You guys can also go to the Discord server, but I'm just going to take them off just as I'm now going to go ahead and why does it do that? Or maybe I'll look at that. That's so weird. Okay. All right. So we got one question coming in from there. Now, these are some additional questions that came up for me. Yes, I think the biggest thing that I've recognized from students in geometry is it's just remembering all like the theorems, the postulates, the axioms, like just remembering all that kind of stuff. It's just so much information. When you kind of write all the definitions, all the theorems, all that kind of stuff down, I mean, you're gonna have like a booklet, right? And sometimes you can call it like a toolkit. I remember when I taught at CPM, they had like a toolkit, but it's a lot to remember. But that's kind of like the foundation of the stuff that you need to know for geometry. So I think knowing those kind of basic stuff is usually where a lot of students will get stuck. And then also the algebra is also a lot of things where, solving equations and like basic stuff like that is where I see a lot of students will kind of, fall apart from there. So if I was just going to say, if there's only something to focus without knowing exactly what you're studying or what you're going through in your EOC, teaching geometry last year, I would just recommend on like having all those theorems, definitions, all that stuff that you had, writing them down and in like a booklet or a cheat sheet and studying that. And thank you so much, Alfonso, for the super chat. I greatly appreciate that. Talism, you got this. Best of luck. So happy to help you out, Eric. The only benefit that I found over taking math over the summer, which I've never done, is getting over with it. So therefore, it's just one less thing you need to worry about, because if you're taking other courses in the fall or in the spring, and you have like a heavy workload, it might be, a lot with a lot of students, usually math is like one of those courses that kind of takes over your workload. So if you could take it over summer, maybe that's your one course, then maybe that's like the one thing you can focus on. And then you can focus on maybe your other courses like in the fall and like maybe enjoy a little bit more of your time. The downsides is when you take it over summer, it's usually compressed, it's usually accelerated. And if you have any kind of misconceptions or are slower with learning math or have a more difficulty, all that's going to be more compounded. So it's not something that I recommend for students that just want to get rid of their math and, already kind of struggle with math, even though those benefits might seem like a great idea. It could easily kind of backfire with how quickly you're trying to like absorb the information and being expected to do well. So I would just take it very cautiously if that's what you are balancing at. But if you're like a stronger math student and you feel good with the content or that you feel good with your abilities that you can be able to catch on, then I'd say, hey, go for it. I don't know, the 12 basic functions, you can type it up, Google it up. That's what basically I expect my students to be able to know. It really depends on what you're trying to learn. I mean, I didn't take calculus till I was in high school, and I'm sorry, I didn't take calculus till I was in college. And my counselor was like, you should have taken this in high school, but I still got my degree, and like I finished a semester later. So, and I did perfectly fine, but I needed that time. And I think it really kind of also depends on your maturity, your mental maturity, not if you are like immature, like socially, but a lot of times your brain, and usually for boys, that's going to be a little bit more delayed than, for girls. And so and for me, it was definitely something like there's no way I would have been successful in calculus in high school. I was just not ready and prepared for it mentally. Well, awesome. So happy to help you out. I'm not able to find my level of math, which I'm not really sure what you mean by find your level of math. I'm see if you're looking for that, like looking on like online tutorials. I'm not really sure. Do you allow students to use graphing calculators? I did not. I stopped. I used to, and then I just kind of stopped. Like, there's a lot of benefits to using graphing calculators. A lot of benefits, because how smart and how great they are. But students just became too reliant on them, and they couldn't do anything. They would just rely on the graphing calculator, and so they lost their ability like to think and problem solve. So I took away the calculators. We did do activities where they still learned how to use the calculators and use the power that had ability to them. And then obviously when they had exams and everything like that, they were, we used the calculator and they had them to like check their work and like expose it. But but most of the time, like, we would I would do that in a different second, like for activities and so forth, where I focus on the calculator, not so much on like assessments and so forth. That's a good question. I might need to have to come back with that regarding maybe like a video, but I would just recommend like setting like 30 minutes and try and do as many problems as you can in like 30 minutes and then take a break and maybe come back to it. And no, I don't think physics is as focused heavily on, or calculus is focused on like physics. I mean, there is obviously some application problems that are going to be, physics problems with calculus, but it's not, calculus is its own world. It's not focused on physics problems. Well, so happy to be able to have you out. All right. Let me go and look at some of these questions that came through. Oh, this person's question, plotting equations. So I do have a triangle up there. So we're going to go ahead and solve this. Graph the equation by plotting the points. What the heck is the student's question? How the square root can be the answer plus the next below plus or minus 3. I guess I'll try to give an explanation for this student. I'm not really sure. Let me see. Get that out of the way. All right. It looks like it's an example problem and they're trying to have me explain it. So I'll try to do my best there. Come on. Thank you. I have no idea. I only took chemistry in high school, so I do not remember. And yeah, I think like I don't think there should be any courses that are like off the charts. Like I think we should have way more access to classes, and that's where kind of like an online learning, kind of format. It's not going to be available for everybody. Everybody's not going to be ready for it. But I mean, I don't think I don't think we should be limiting students above or beyond like their abilities. Usually I didn't write this question as a single function as x. Yeah, okay, I'll try to do that one. I think I know this one off the top of my head, so I feel comfortable going through. I always hate doing questions that after I've vetted them, because a lot of times like I'll look at the question, I'm like, oh yeah, I know how to do this, and then there'll be like whatever I was thinking it was is not what I was thinking. So sometimes or a lot of times that'll happen. That was always my verified identity. I have an idea. I'm going to try this one. I don't know if this is the right one, but this one kind of looks like a cool problem. No, then you have to multiply by cotangent. I don't know. We'll give it a whirl. See what happens. All right. That looks like a fun problem. Awesome. Send it into brianmclogan.com/Q&A. It's pinned comment from there. And those are some of the questions I'm going over. What's going to involve integrals? I'm not going to be able to call intervals or fundamental theorem of calculus. Unfortunately, I got to get back through my calculus. So I apologize, guys, for all calculus questions. I just got to go back through the calculus curriculum. It's just not something that is g of x composition functions. I'm not sure what you're asking, but I will. Usually I don't do this, but I'll try to do my best. I have like a little tutorial that I usually like to talk about for composition of functions. So I guess I'll explain it that way. How come I am not in my classroom? Because I stepped away from the classroom this year. So I am no longer teaching in front of my classroom. Actually, do I have that picture? Hold on a second. You guys want to see my classroom? Well, I mean, it's like my class when I was in there. But, there we go. Hey! I'll put that as my little, There you go. It's like being in Mr. McLogan's classroom right now. There you go. Yep. That was my classroom. So we'll leave that up there. It's kind of a little fun. But yeah, I stepped away from my classroom. That's no longer, move that over. Yep. So that is no longer my home, but I taught in that classroom for 12 years. I would recommend, Ethan, doing as many example problems as you possibly can. So I'm assuming there's like previous tests that you've taken and everything like that. I would do as many practice questions as you possibly can. Thank you so much. Not sure which question, but again, guys, if you have any questions, submit them to brianmclogan.com/Q&A. It's pinned in the chat. Awesome. Happy to help. Yeah, so basically right now I am just doing YouTube. So that's kind of where I'm at. Okay. Let's see. That's a good question. It's not the skill that you have to practice or good. I got it to be smart. I'm actually not going to post that. So this student asked it. Well, actually, you know, that's why not? Might as well post it in there. Oh, come on. Yeah. Actually, no, let me see. Can I do this as like an overlay? Let me see if I can do this picture. Then I'll just do this as my overlay. Let me see. Image 1510. Sweet. Now it doesn't want to go through, so I'm going to knock that down. All right. We'll get into whatever math questions you guys have. Coming up, it doesn't want to upload this as my picture. There we go. Look how cool that is. Wow. Where'd I go? Why can't I turn on my PMP? Huh. Wow, I guess I'll have to take down my overlay. It's kind of stupid. All right. If you get a 300 UC and it's 30% of your final grade, how much will your final grade change if it was 100? If it's 30% of your final grade, how much? Well, it depends on what your final grade and everything else that you go through. No, I am not good, or I wouldn't say I was not good, but I mean, I haven't taken that in since high school. So I got to paste that. So this is an interesting question. I think one of these that students constantly always ask, right? Is it just, how do you get good at math as a skill that you practice or whatever you're good at? All right. Last one, and then I got to finish it. Van, some integrals. Sorry, Van. I am just not going to be able to get to those integral questions. All right, let's go ahead and get on to some math. I don't know why. Yeah, Rocking Artist, I am going to knock those out. All right, so let's do this first problem. So this one is, I think it was like write an equation, then solve for x. So here's the important thing, guys, is, so, I mean, there's a couple different ways we can do this, right? We can do this the long way by basically recognizing that all these angles, they're all the same, right? So we could say, x plus 7 plus an x plus 7 plus x plus 7 equals 180 degrees, right? So therefore, that's a 3x plus 7, 14, 21 equals 180 degrees. And then you can just go ahead and solve the two-step equation. Ta-da. Now, another thing in a video that I kind of recently made, hopefully you recognize here that these angles are all the same, right? This is what we call a equal angular triangle. So when all the angles are the same, let's just call this x, then x is going to equal 60 degrees, right? Because 60 plus 60 plus 60 equals 180. So therefore, if I know that each of these angles is equal to 60, then I can say x plus 7 is equal to 60 degrees. So therefore, x equals, subtract a 7, right? And then let's just give ourselves a little room. So therefore, x equals a 53 degrees. Voila. And yeah, angle sum property. So all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So graph the equation by plotting the points. Okay, so the important thing you need to understand with this question is like when we want to solve, like when we're creating this table. So they had so they're setting this as an equation to solve for y, right? So it's important when you introduce like the square root, you need to understand, like, for instance, like if I said x squared equals 4, okay? Now to solve for x, I'm going to introduce the square root. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Now I need you to understand that when you introduce the square root, see how there's no square root here? But when you introduce the square root, you have to make sure you take into account the plus or minus 2, because both of those answers satisfy this equation, right? I could say 2 quantity squared equals 4. I could also say a negative 2 quantity squared equals 4. Based on this original equation, we don't know which one we're talking about, right? So we have to make sure we're including both. So that's why when they solve for x, that's why they included plus or minus. So basically then all you're simply doing is plugging the x value and you're finding the y, but that's why you have the plus or minus. That's why you have the two values. So hopefully that explains kind of like your misunderstanding as far as like why we include plus or minuses in there. How about identity secant equals 2? Then that means cosine is equal to 1/2, but I'm not sure what your identity is. So if secant equals 2, I'm just going to see this because I saw this, John. If secant equals 2, then that means cosine equals 1/2. So I'm not sure what you're supposed to do with that problem, but I would work from cosine equals 1/2. And yeah, that's another easier, quicker way you could write the same thing. All right, so here's an identity problem. It says use identities to write this expression as a single function. So immediately what I see is cosine, and I see the difference of two angles. So my thinking is well, that means what about we use this formula, the difference formula for cosine. So that's going to be cosine of u, cosine of v plus sine of u times the sine of v. All right, so in this case, we're going to have u is theta, and pi is going to be v is going to be pi. So when I plug this in here, I have the cosine of theta times the cosine of pi plus the sine of theta times the sine of pi. All right, now we need to understand via the unit circle what is our point at pi, right? So pi, standard form, is right here. That coordinate point is -1, 0. Right? So the cosine, remember, represents the x-coordinate, and the sine represents the y-coordinate for a point on the unit circle. So cosine here, cosine of pi is going to be -1, and the sine of pi is going to be 0. So therefore, when I plug that in, I have the cosine of theta. Cosine of pi is going to be a -1 plus the sine of pi, or sine of theta, times 0. Well, obviously that goes out, so therefore we're left with a negative cosine of theta. Brittany, go ahead and submit it into brianmclogan.com/Q&A. It's in the chat. But if you want my quick solution from there, I would just, you can just use the one-to-one property and eliminate the logs, and then you're going to have to solve a quadratic, it looks like. But if you want to send it to that link, and I'll go and take a look at it. For I know how to solve a problem, but how do you stop the answer in trigonometry or similar kind? I have no idea what that means. What you mean? All right. So let's go and verify the following identity. All right, so we need the left-hand side to look like the right-hand side. Okay. It's a good question here. What I'm thinking to do is I'm going to, that's going to get it to there. All right, let me try. So main thing, you just got to try things, right? So my main thinking is like, let's get rid of this. So what I'm going to do is if I have 1 plus cotangent, this is going to be, okay, so I have a sine of x minus a cosine of x all over a 1 minus, using the even odd identities, a negative cotangent of x. Okay. No, that's not going to help me out because I want to get that to be a positive cotangent. Well, yeah, you can do plus plus. or times 1. So I'm going to try to get this to be a 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this by 1 plus cotangent of x. 1 plus a cotangent of x. Okay, so what happens here is in my numerator, let's go ahead and distribute that. So that's going to give me a sine of x minus a cosine of x. Sine times cotangent. So just remember cotangent is going to be cosine over sine. So that's going to be plus a cosine. And then cotangent time minus cosine. So again, cotangent is cosine over sine. So therefore, that's going to be a negative cosine squared of x all over sine of x. And that's going to be all over a 1 minus a cotangent squared of x. Okay, so those are going to subtract out. That's good. Now, the Pythagorean identity, remember we have sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x equals 1, right? So if I am going to get cotangent, that'd be sine over cosine. So sine over cosine. So therefore, if I divide everything by a cosine squared of x, no, not that. Divide everything by a sine squared of x. That's going to be a 1 plus a cotangent squared of x equals a cosecant squared of x. So that's not going to be a plus 1. Yeah. I'm trying to think of this good identity problem that I'm deciding to do in on here. So we have the 1 plus cotangent. That's going to be sine. So now you guys are making me solve a problem. This is like going through my class that I'm like randomly picking a problem. If you factor out the negative, that's going to be a positive from that. So that's not going to work. And then you would get a sine squared over cosine squared. That's going to be a minus. Good question. You could just multiply by that. That'd be a 1 minus cosine. Huh. So we have that tangent. And because if you did tangent minus 1, hold on, let me see if that would work there. Because if you did a tangent minus 1, and because then that would be a tangent. Yeah. I don't know. Let's go and try that. Maybe that'll make it easier. I have no idea. So I'm going to try something else. All right. So if I multiplied, so therefore from there, let's just multiply by a tangent of x on the top and bottom. By doing that, tangent is going to be sine over cosine, right? So therefore, this is going to be a sine squared of x all over a cosine of x minus a sine of x all over a tangent of x minus 1. And then you could do the tangent squared minus 1, which is going to be a secant. But that doesn't seem like that's going to work very... It seems like, I mean... You know, this is going to be one I'll just have to look at. Sorry, I shouldn't have probably, well, it's not, so I don't have any problem. I'm not seeing any like easy solution from there. So it's probably gonna be something that's going to take a little bit longer than I'm going to want to use on the live stream. So I apologize. I'm going to have to say that I do not know a quick, easy, fast solution for this one. But I would just recommend, if you notice, like I tried 2 different things, I would recommend doing that. And let me just try one last thing. That the only other thing I recommend doing is maybe trying this. Because I thought about doing this. I'm thinking you're going to want to get your Pythagorean identities. So let's just do this one real quick. Sine squared of x plus a cosine of x. Why am I doing a cosine? They don't want them squared. Plus. Okay, so what that's going to give you in the numerator here is a sine squared of x minus a cosine squared of x. And then over here, you're going to get a sine of x. Sine times a negative cotangent, right? Remember, that's a negative cotangent of x. So that's cosine over sine. So therefore, that's going to be a negative cosine of x. That's going to be the positive cosine of x. And then this one's going to be, so you're going to get basically the same idea here. And then that's going to give you a negative cosine squared of x all over a sine of x. So those will divide out. Let's rewrite these in terms of sine. So if I have sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x equals 1, I can write that in terms of sines by saying that's a 1 minus cosine squared. No, cosine equals a 1 minus sine squared, yeah. So I can say a sine squared of x equals, I'm sorry, not that, subtract, minus cosine. I can rewrite a cosine as a 1 minus a sine squared of x. So that's going to be plus, oh God. I can put over 1, so I have a sine of x minus a cosine squared of x all over a sine of x. I mean, you can combine these. Oh, well, here we go. Aha. Forget that. Nope, we got it. Look at that, little perseverance. I was about to give up. Sine squared of x minus a cosine squared of x, right? And look what I have here. So technically, I have a sine squared of x minus a cosine squared of x all over a sine squared of x minus a cosine squared of x all over a sine of x. And guess what happens when you multiply by the reciprocal? Guess what happens when you multiply by the reciprocal? You get a sine of x. Wha-bam. Thank you very much. Hopefully that was helpful. Sorry for the delay on that, but hopefully that was helpful. All right, composite functions. So, I mean, just remember, like if I have two functions, right? Let's say I have f of x equals a x plus 3, and I say g of x is equal to a x squared plus 3. Okay, so just remember, if I said like, what is f of 1, what do? You replace the 1 for the x, right? If I say, what is f of negative x, what do? You put a negative, whatever's inside these parentheses, you're going to put that in for the x, right? If I say, what is f of h, then you're going to put an h plus 3, right? If I say, what is f of star, what are you going to do? You're going to put the star inside, right? Doesn't really make any sense. But again, that's the whole idea. If I say, what is f of g of x, what do? You put the g of x inside of there. Plus 3. Now, here's the cool thing. We actually know what g of x is. G of x is x squared plus 3. So this, all you're going to do now is you just kind of rewrite in that function, but then you're just going to say, oh, well, that's really just an x squared plus 3. I'm sorry, why I don't write that so many 3's. That's an x squared plus 3 and then plus 3, right? So that's an x squared plus 6. Voila. Hopefully that will help you out. I'm not sure. You sent me over a thing. Hopefully you did. I'm not sure. Is math a skill that you have to practice to get good at, or you have to be smart? You definitely, it's just a skill you got to practice. It's like anything, guys, anything. You just got to put in the time, put in the work from in there. So I don't think it's anything that, it's not people that are good at math are not just smart. So trust me on that. All right, Brittany, I told you to post it in there. So, and I saw you did it. So thank you. So let's get into it. Come on. Okay. So I don't know where you're at with your level, but if I said 3 to the x equals a 3 squared, well, then hopefully you recognize that x equals 2, right? X has to equal 2, right? If 3 raised to x equals 3 squared, then we know x equals 2. That's what we call the one-to-one property, where a lot of times we can just say, oh, just get rid of the denominators. Well, the same thing for this is going to work for logarithms, but a lot of students are kind of confused with logarithms. But the same thing, when you have a log equal to log, then you can just get rid of the logarithms and say the argument is equal to the argument. So in this case, they both have a base 9. So we just don't care about that. We can just get rid of it. So now I have a 2n squared minus a 14n is equal to a negative 45 plus an n squared. So now we have a quadratic. Whenever you have a quadratic, the best thing you're going to want to do is get them all to the same side and set it equal to 0. So I have an n squared minus 14n plus 45 is equal to 0. Now what I basically want to do is know what two numbers multiply to give me 45, but then are going to add to 14. 45 immediately, first thing that comes to my mind is 9 and 5, and 9 plus 5 equals 14, but that's a positive 14. But also you could do negative, right? Negative 9 times negative 5 is a positive 45, but negative 9 plus negative 5 is a negative 14. So therefore, that's going to be an n minus 5. I don't know what I'm doing. N minus 5 times an n minus 9, right? So then n equals 5, and then n equals 9. Now, the important thing about when you're doing quadratics is you got to make sure that you these answers are going to work. And that means they're not going to make the argument negative. So I don't know what a negative 14 times 5 is, a negative 70. And that could not work there. Negative 14 times n9 is negative 126, but that's going to be 81 times 2, so that's fine. But this negative 14, so I think when we plug this in, watch when I do this, when I do a 2n squared minus a 14n, right? This is log base 9 of this. Like, this cannot be negative. So when I have a log base 9 of 2 times 5 quantity squared minus a 14n, 14 times 5, sorry, that cannot be negative. And 5 squared is 25. That's going to be 50. Well, negative 14 times 5 is negative 70. So this is what we call an extraneous solution. So n equals 9 is your only solution. So hopefully that was where you were kind of like getting a little bit confused from on there. And hopefully that explanation helped you out. Let me know. So weird. I don't know, Chris. I have no idea. I apologize for that, guys. I don't know. I mean, people are able to do it clicking directly from the link. So I am getting the website like updated from on there. So hopefully once I have that like refreshed, it'll be good. But you can also just go directly. I mean, if maybe retyping it in directly, maybe it'll help out. But yeah, if you post in the chat or post at brianmclogan.com, that would be the best way ever to do it. And awesome, Brittany, so happy. That's great. It's always kind of difficult when I don't really know where students are exactly at. That, you know, it's all difficult. And I apologize. I haven't taught matrices in a while, so I'm not going to be able to do that question. Versa, I know I saw your question in there. I'm sorry. I haven't gone through infinite series and sequences in a while. So it's just something I would have to go back like and read and like think through and like remember. So it's nothing I could post at the top of my head from on there. But so I apologize for that. All right. Find sine and tangent if cosine equals 2/3. Kevin, you're going to want to do the sum and difference of two cubes. So if you need more help, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do it tonight because it's already kind of getting at the end of the stream. But you're going to want to look and do sum and difference of two cubes. All right. So find the sine and tangent if cosine equals 2/3. So the main thing you want to know is when is cotangent of theta greater than 0? So if you look at the quadrants, right, you think about here, that's an x and y, right? Here's a negative x, a negative y. Here's a negative x and a negative y. And here, any point is a positive x, negative y, right? Now remember, cotangent of any angle, right, or any point on the unit circle is just going to be the x over the y, right? So we want to know when it's positive. Well, the only time it's going to be positive is in the first quadrant and in the fourth quadrant, right? Because a negative over negative is positive and a positive over positive is negative. So this is positive. Notice my ratio is positive, so therefore it has to be in the first quadrant. So just remember cosine is going to be the adjacent over the hypotenuse. Now you can use a little Pythagorean theorem, right? Let's just call this, I don't know, h. No, let's not call it h. Let's just call it y, right? So remember 2 squared plus a y squared equals a 3 squared, right? So y squared equals a 9 minus 4. Well, let me do it slowly. So a 4 plus y squared equals a 9 minus 4 minus 4. Y squared equals 5. Square root, square root. So y equals plus or minus 5, right? But since it's in the first quadrant, we know that that answer is going to be a square root of 5. So sine of theta, remember, is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. So that's square root of 5 over 3. And the tangent of theta, remember, is opposite over adjacent. So it's going to be square root of 5 over 2. All right, explain. Yeah, we never went through that from there, so I'd have to go back and review because I never taught the epsilon delta definition from there. So, all right, guys, that is going to be it for tonight's stream. But again, guys, if you do have any more questions, I apologize I wasn't able to get to everybody's questions. But if you do have any questions, then please, please, please feel free, guys, to go through the links where you guys can definitely go ahead and submit questions. BrianMcLogan.com/Q&A, or check out the Discord server and ask some questions there. I will be back again next week at 9 p.m. to answer your questions and to check in with you guys. So hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys then. Cheers.